one more test. I'm going to be working over here. See what you think. Oh, I know what to do. Why, hello everybody. It's Robbie from Southern California, and we've got a lot of sun today, but it's still kind of cool. It's about 55, 60 degrees. I'm a triple digit gal, so that's what I like. But you know what? I want to work a little bit in the garden and really start to get things going. And today, this is going to be one of the first things I'm going to start to think about setting up. This is this cabinet or contraption that Gary found in the trash. And let me tell you, we have grown a lot of food in this thing in the past couple years. And I do the lazy composting. See all this? Just so you know, on this one, I started the compost in here. I have not added any soil to this at all. And yes, all this is growing. There's no soil in here. No type of soil. The only thing that is in here is the kitchen scraps, leaves and things from the garden, dead leaves. And when everything started to grow, I just threw some wood chips on top. 2 years ago, I think we grew a lot of squash. And then last year, of course, you could see last spring and summer, we were growing these brown berry tomatoes. And I grew some squash in there and cucumbers. I'm not 100% sure yet what I'm going to set up, but I am definitely going to set it up to do something. And I think I am going to grow zucchini and things in there. And maybe I will, grow some tomatoes because I try to direct them on this wire fence. So this is going to be one of the first things. And as you can see, let's walk over here. I'm just going to tell you what I'm doing. I have been starting to clean up in the garden and throw leaves from around the garden. And if I see something turning yellow, I just pick it and then just drop it in. You know how I do it. Compost in place, and then I just grow on top. There's multiple ways of doing that too. The other thing too is, see these buckets here? These are kitchen scraps. I wasn't even sure where I was going to put them, and they are really rotting and drying up, but that's okay. It can't go bad. I mean, it was bad when it was brought out, and that's going to be dumped in there along with some fresher kitchen scraps until I set it up, and then I'll just continue because I have so many containers. I've never counted how many containers, so I really should count and see how many we've got, but right now I'm going to concentrate on this and then slowly work my way through. Like, I've got all kinds of stuff going on here I've got to trim back. I'm going to trim back the dinosaur kale. Going to let this great big one, it's 5 years old, grow along the fence, but this branch is going to come off. And I've got so much dinosaur kale that I'm probably just going to compost it. I love my dinosaur kale. No, I'm probably going to compost it. I might take a couple pieces off for cuttings because that's what's growing all through here is cuttings. It's so easy. You could take a piece like this, trim it off really nice, maybe trim off the bottom and then trim off some of the leaves, leave a little bit and stick it in some soil, and you've got yourself another dinosaur plant, another dinosaur kale growing. So let me trim this up and talk about how I'm going to do it. And I'm rugged up right now for the cool weather, even though it's sunny. And I am trying to protect my eyes a little bit with some sunglasses and a hat and get a little bit done and then go back in and get other things done around here later. So I'm going to be ruthless and I'm going to be cutting a lot of this tomato out and start fresh. I'm still not sure, how I'm going to set it up or exactly when. They say it's going to cool down again, so we'll see. It gets nice and warm and then it cools down. Now this tomato plant, it's not diseased. It looks terrible. It's just at its, end of its life. So let's get this chopped down and let's see what I decide to do and how much I'm going to take out. Because it's just no use to leave something that's struggling so much. It's just a waste of my time and efforts. And in the meantime, all this will be wonderful compost as the season goes on. I really should be ruthless and take it out. You know what? I'm going to. I'll scream as I do it. Let me explain what I'm going to do here. I'm going to chop up the stem because I absolutely don't need it. I probably will be moving the buckets that are in there, the tubs, flower pots, or all kinds of stuff in there when I get ready to do something. In the meantime, this will break down and I can dump some more kitchen scraps. I think it's got plenty in here for food, so I don't want to waste putting all of it in here when it's so valuable to me because it grows so much. But here's the thing. This particular stem is really, really nice and green, and it did grow really good tomatoes. So what I think I'm going to do with this for now, because you know I can always change my mind and toss it out, is I'm going to end up using this as a cutting, and I'm going to go ahead and probably attempt to root this. If it looked sickly, like part of this, let's take this off. And this one has a very yellow look to it. Let me show you how yellow this is. Let me show you the difference so you can understand this, because I've tried it. See how yellow this is? This may or may not work. Now, if you were desperate, it would be worth a try. Now, see the other part of the stem, how green it is? That should work fine. So all I have to do is trim it down and get it into either some soil or water. And I don't need a whole lot. So I'm going to leave it on the branch because I'm not going in yet. And then I'm just going to trim it down. Now remember, you cannot root the leaves, but any of the side shoots that actually look like a plant, you can. So I'm going to go sit it over here and keep going. I probably should not sit it in the sun. And then if I don't want it later, at least I've got it. I can throw it away if I do want it. If I don't want it, just throw it out. Well, I shouldn't throw it out, compost it. But this plant I think I am going to take out because I end up, look at this. This is yarn. I'm going to put this in my pocket. Yarn is designed, remember, for clothes. What do you do with clothes when you knit something? You know what you do with clothes. Most people nowadays, all they want to do is put it in the washing machine. So it really is a good product, in my opinion, to use in the garden when you want to tie up plants. So if I see that at the dollar store, a lot of times old-fashioned colors, I'll decide what I'm going to do with that later, you know, they just phase them out and they donate them, but whatever they do, sell it cheap to the dollar stores, or you've got Big Lots or different stores like that that buy all that. When I see really, really good yarn, you know, I buy some of that and then I use it for tying up plants. See, now this looks kind of, it's got a lot of, what do you call it? Not mold, but you know, it doesn't look that good. It's old, it's struggling with the weather. Mildew, it's got mildew on it, so it's not worth trying to save that. It's a shame, so many of this has tomatoes on it. But remember, we're going in the spring now, and this is the time of year I want to start getting fresh, new plants growing. Now, I didn't come out here to just talk about this, or everybody's going to be screaming I'm wasting their time. And I warned you, it's just me working in the garden. There are multiple things I can do in my garden. Multiple things. I can take all this matter coming out of the garden, it's returning to the earth, break it down, and plant right on top, you know, when the time is ready. I think we're getting close. I usually look for signs from Mother Nature, and I think we're getting close to start planting. So we could do it that way. So that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it would be, I keep hearing noises. I saw something fly by before. It was so big it almost looked like an eagle. The other way of doing it, and I have more control on watering, is if I set this all up with all the food matter from the kitchen that I want to dump in here and leaves from the garden, and we don't need these big poles anymore, so I can move them out of the way and use them where I really need them. I can set it up in tubs on top. You know, some people say, oh, you can't grow in rotting down food matter. Okay, well, that's fine. Everybody's got their own opinion. I know that if you left it in the house really too long, go ahead and leave a compost bucket next to your sink. And if it's not full and it's not collecting fruit flies yet or anything, You watch and see how the food will start growing if you've got seeds in there. Tomato seeds, it loves the rich food matter that's breaking down in the kitchen. But yeah, I could do it multiple ways. I could spread this out and put the containers, like put a big flower pot there and another one here and here and here, and then I can plant what I want in the different containers. Now, the reason I like containers, not everybody likes containers, is you have direct watering. And to me, that's what's really important. Look at this. This is all yarn. This yarn's been here for 9 months and it's still going strong. This is amazing. Look at this. In fact, I can reuse this when I want to tie something up. So by having flower pots in here, goodbye tomato, look at that. By having flower pots in here and going through and watering, it's direct watering. I know, oh, this is so hard to do. I know that the plants are getting water when they're in a flower pot like that. A floral pot, any type of pot. I don't need this anymore. This is for my compost bin over here. Just leave it there. Oh, I really do have to be ruthless. You know, it really kills me. And then I end up with all this stuff I really don't want. Yep, we're going to be ruthless. We're getting rid of all these tomatoes. Even though this one's a little yellow, I might go ahead and try to root that one. We'll put that in there. I want it out. I want to start fresh this year. I didn't last year. I left a couple things in here, and then all these new tomatoes started growing. And you know what? They're going to grow. Here's what's really interesting. You take these tomatoes, and I've done it, so I know it, that are not ripe, and you drop them in here and you put them off to the side. They will continue to ripen because remember, there's seeds in there. Yeah, see, this is really yellow. I don't even know if I want to bother with this. They'll continue to ripen in here and the seeds will continue to mature even though it's no longer on the plant. As long as it's got moisture and it hasn't completely dried out, the seeds, it's like an embryo in an egg, will continue. I am going to cut this one off, but I am going to try to root some of this other stuff. The seeds will continue to mature to get to the point where they're mature enough to grow. We're not talking about growing in the tomato. Once the season comes, it starts to break down. There's a signal that is sent out from the fermenting tomato, and it's now time to grow. And that's what it does. But if the seeds are immature, then they won't grow. That's why if you pick a squash and they have tiny little seeds in there, they're not going to grow because they didn't mature. But you take a squash that's getting close to ripe, doesn't have to be ripe, and set it aside, leave it there for months, and the seeds will mature. Yeah, I'll take some of these and I'll try to root some of them. You can root them in water. You can root them in soil. I'll just put it in the pot there. You can root them different ways. If you root them in water, which I have done, they sometimes go, some of them in shock. And so you may lose a couple when you're transplanting it. And so it doesn't matter if you got so many. If you root them in soil, then you don't have a problem because they're already used to the soil once they set root, and then you can move them. Tomatoes are easy to move because when the roots are on the bottom, you can still bury the stem, and then it will just gain more strength as it grows more roots because the whole stem up here can grow roots. But I am going to compost this. Now, could some of the stems start to grow while it's being composted? Yes, it can. And you know what? If it does and it grows into a beautiful, I cannot believe how strong yarn is. If it grows into a plant, I think I'll just pull this out. And it wants to grow that bad, then I'll leave it. Then at that point I will leave it. Right now I'm kind of got other plans, but my plans do change. I just can't throw this away. I can sit here and untie some of the knots in this yarn, and you could use this for 2 years. Remember, yarn is made for clothing, and it's made to withstand a lot of weather and roughness and everything, and it's been really, really, really good to use in the garden with my masking tape. I use masking tape and it just is so good. Plastic breaks down, wood breaks down, but yarn does not. But yes, it could grow. And if it grows, it grows. I might take it all the way down to the bottom and leave the trunk itself. And if it comes back from the trunk, then that would be good too. But really right now, I kind of want to do something different in here. The main thing right now is to get this all out, get it cleared out, get all the kitchen scraps that I've been just sitting around here, you know, not knowing where to put. Get them in here because I've got some in another area and I'm getting ready to plant there, and then this way I can come out with my kitchen scraps and leaves and stuff from the garden and know that we're getting ready to start planting. I think we're getting really close. We've been having a lot of warm days and cold days, but I'm hoping that the warm days will take over and then we'll have more warm. It's really the evening is what it is. You don't want the night to get too cold. That's where peppers and tomatoes, a lot of things may not grow as well. Like if it's under 45, they'll have problems, a lot of them. So we're waiting for the weather to change. We've had springs where it's been so warm and springs where it's been so cold. Last year, yeah, everybody complained that I know they lost a lot of their plants. This is going to go. I haven't been this ruthless in here in a long time. I think a lot of these tomatoes that I'm throwing back in here, if I'm not, you know, ruthless with them, they may come up and just take over the whole thing again, all the baby tomatoes. And you know, I may decide, okay, let's go ahead and do that. So that's what I'm doing in here. And get all these stakes out, then I don't, well, this is a double stake. Let's pull it out. This is so great. If you got tomato stakes, and I have talked about this, and you buy the short ones, I don't know if you can see it on camera. These were the short ones, and you can, with a zip tie, leave a good, I don't know, 6-8 inches and lay them down together, and you can make them as long as you want. The main thing is to have a good amount here. I've got quite a bit because I didn't want it that long, but you can even make it shorter, you know, pull it together and make this thing taller. So you can do it as much as you want. But this has got 1, 2, 3, 4 zip ties on it. And look at this. The zip ties didn't break off. This is from last summer. And it's beautiful, and I can use this again. And I think I'll just move it right now. Yeah, I must have bought 100 stakes. It's like, I can't find any stakes. So now I can find my stakes. And then the yarn, we'll throw the little pieces away. Hook that over here. Look at that, it's gone. Now, it's just gonna be, am I gonna pull it out? I'm gonna pull it out. I'm gonna be ruthless. I wanna start completely new in here. It was so cool a couple years ago. I had just so many different types of squash growing, and they were just taking off all over the ground, which is really nice. Isn't that amazing? The yarn doesn't break down at all, so keep that in mind. It holds nice, and it looks nice. It really, really works really good in the garden. I want the garden this year to look nice. I'm sorry, tomato. I am going to take you out. Okay. There's different ways on this too. Oh, look at the root system. Tomatoes can last 10, 20 years sometimes, I've heard. They can go a long time, but I want to change things up in here. You could just cut it and let it decay. All the roots would decay because you've got microbes and everything even growing on here, and they're all, you know, living around the roots, but it doesn't matter. There's some roots still in there I'm going to leave. You could do it different ways. Any earthworms, it's damp in here. It's going to move. I just want to really be able this year, look at the roots. I want to be able to step back and think about what I want to do in here and do something different. I'm done. Well, I thought it was going to be a lot longer. That is one big bird. It's probably a red-tailed hawk, but it just seems to be so much bigger than a red-tailed hawk. Anyways, this is it, and we'll see what happens in here as the year goes on. It's a good spot because it gets a lot of beautiful sun here. You get the sun coming up, and it gets the sun going all the way across, so it gets sun all day. So this is good for tomatoes or for any type of zucchini, things that like a lot of sun. I mean, I could even go as far as sticking some corn in here if I want. The problem is with corn, and I've done corn, you really do need a lot of corn. If you don't plant a lot of corn, you know, you could do a field and then it will self-pollinate. But when you have not enough corn, then you've got to really hand pollinate a little bit. And I did hand pollinate and I did get corn, and I thought, you know what, with all that work, maybe someday, but not right now. And I think this year, no. I want to clean this up. Maybe I'll frame this in differently too, because now I can get in here. I want to move everything over, and here, let me bring the camera and show you what's going on. Where's I going to get it off the tripod, don't I? Okay. So now, here it is. Everything's been chopped up. Everything's been moved around. And that's what I'm saying. Now, look at this. That's one thing, even though it looks like I've got stuff in here, I have no gophers in here because there is a bottom. I have no critters in here other than, you know, what I want in here. You can get rodents and stuff in here, but if I tool it, they won't come in. And if they don't bother it, I don't have to bother. But I want to push everything over, everything I have been working on, and I want to layer this in pots and redo it. If I spread it across, then it will break down more evenly, and then I can lay pots on top. That's what I'm saying. If I wanted to plant in this today, I know I'm shaking you around with this camera because I can't get a good grip on it. If I wanted to plant in this today, I could literally, the best thing to do would be to spread all the leaves all the way across, take the pots out that I've got in here, and then put the pots back on top. These are pots that you would grow trees in, this one, say. And literally you would just go like this. I'm doing this all one-handed. And that's it. Or I could push it down a little bit or put more leaves around it. Then what would happen is the plants growing into this pot would send their roots off into the bottom. Now, within days, a week, all this is going to start to break down. If I want it to break down quicker, I could put something on top. Remember, the top doesn't break down because the top is dry. Everything underneath, if I'm watering it, will be wet, and water is life. Now, I could cover this with wood chips, potting soil, garden soil, grass clippings, and if I did all that you see that I've cut, including the kitchen matter I'm going to throw in here, that would break down so fast and it would turn into a super soil that quick. Leaving it the way it is like this, it will take time because the only things that are going to break down is what's underneath. But now, I don't know why I can't get a good grip. Okay, now I can take all the kitchen scraps I've got and just start dumping it in there. All the eggshells, coffee grinds, look at that. It's just so dried out. It doesn't matter if it dried out. It doesn't matter at all. And then just kind of take a stick or a shovel and just straighten it all out in there, get all these pots out. And then I'm going to set the pots back in until I decide what I'm going to do. Now this is what I'm kind of talking about. I can push everything over. And I can just go ahead and cover the whole thing. And then I can put either maybe wood chips or something, or leave it right now since I'm not planting in it today. But see the pots that are here, like this one, see this? All this here, see this here? This is last year's compost. Look at that. Look how beautiful that is. Can you see how beautiful and rich that is? I mean, there's plenty in here for these plants to grow without me adding anything to it. Let's see what's in this one. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Oh, there's still a little bit of eggshells, and there's things that have fallen that are, oh, birdseed. Oh, you know what this is? Look at this. See this here? That is birdseed that's been collected by probably a squirrel, and they buried it to come back later. They put it behind the flower pot, and they think they're going to come back and eat it. But this is all going to break down. It's going to be like green compost. But that's it. This was all leaf matter last year with pots on top. See, there's even earthworms. This was all leaves last year. Kitchen scraps. This is what it was a year ago. And now that's broken down. So I'm going to move all this around. Probably going to put something on top if I have time. A lot of times I'm getting ready to do it because I'm going to water this. Keep in mind, I water my pots whether there's something in it or not. Because even though there's no plants in here, this is alive. Remember, you want to keep your soil, if you can, alive. Yes. Do I forget sometimes? Here, let's look over here on the kitchen scraps. Oh yeah, it's all dried out. But you know what? The moment I put it in here and start watering it, it's going to come alive. It doesn't matter. It's like having something in your freezer and then you take it out and you cook it. You know, vegetables are really good. Well, it's just kind of, it didn't even petrify, it just sat there. That's going to break down and turn into soil. But I'm going to spread this out. And like I said, I may plant next to it. I might just plant in pots. I'll decide what I'm going to do. But it's just so easy. This is composting in place. Once I'm set up, I don't have to touch this. I don't have to add anything to it until next year. And then I could just continue on in my garden and continue to fill the other containers with kitchen scraps right next to it. See, I've got in there, see if you can see in there, that's a pot. And it's growing this giant, beautiful dinosaur kale right out of that pot. It's in a container, but it's also in the pot. So I could compost next to it, but I've got other things growing in there, so I'm not bothering right this minute. That's how easy it is. I hope you understood what I was saying. But that's all I would need to do is put a pot here. I could put a pot right here, make some holes in this pot. I could plant a tomato in there, and that tomato would send its roots down into all this matter that's going to break down. And it would have a constant supply of food, the plant, for itself for the entire year, the whole year. There's going to be more food than that plant can use. In the meantime, I've already got worms in here. Earthworms found their way in, and earthworms will continue. They crawl at night. You know, some people call them night crawlers. They crawl at night and come in. They find an area that they want to live in, and they will get in here. So that's basically it. I'm pretty much done for in here. Kind of spread it across a little bit just to make it a little more even. I could bury it. You know, you could do it any way you want. If you want to make this break down really quick, dig into your broken down matter and bury it. Who knows? I might come back and bury it. Just bury it. Once you bury it, it will break down even faster. Within 2 months, you wouldn't even be able to find it. Couple remnants from the eggshells, because the eggshells may not break down completely, but they will. They will continue to dissolve and break down. So I hope I've given you an idea, and I hope we can come back on a garden tour in the next couple months and see things starting to grow in this fun container that Gary found in the trash. Have a great day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. That was quick. Bye-bye. This is for you guys that are wondering, are you going to water it? Yep, even though I'm not planting in it today, I will definitely keep this watered just as if there's a living plant in here. So the soil and everybody that's in there will stay alive until it's time to get this going. And yes, a lot of stuff may start growing. I have not put in any squash seeds. I hope. I probably have.